All right, what's up? The Houston Texans just got great news in their division. I think they just got fantastic news, if I can be completely honest. And the reason for it is pretty clear, but there's also something that they have to fix. There's something they got to get right. We've done videos on this before. But before we get into that, let me ask you two questions off the front, and I want you to answer them in the comments if you can. Number one, what is the position group you are most worried about on this team? You're going to say offensive line. Just write it down, right? But what is it? Maybe it's a different one. Maybe there's something I'm not thinking of. What are you the most worried about? And do you have an offensive position unit that you're surprisingly, I'm feeling pretty calm about this. Feeling pretty calm. And then I want to ask you this question. What division in the NFL do you think is the best/worst division in the NFL? So what division do you believe is the best division in the NFL? What division do you believe is the worst? I love getting chats going about this stuff. Argue with each other, but be nice. Be kind. Argue without taking shots. All right, so with all that being said, I want to talk about what brought you to this. And PFF and Bleacher Report both did rankings of their top divisions. I'm going to show them to you, and it's good news for the Texans. All right, we're going to go talk about all the divisions, though. All right, the number one division was the number one division last year by the end of the year, and it's the NFC North. And these teams did not get worse. In fact, the worst team in it was the Bears. They got considerably better, if you ask me. If you are new to this channel, you know we are Detroit Lions fans, but we love covering teams that the national media flat out ignores. The Texans are one of them. You'll never see Cowboys content on this channel, I promise you. But we love talking about other teams. You try and keep it non-biased. All right? So, NFC North, number one. I couldn't agree more with that. I think AFC West, it's a really close 1-2 race. The difference is that, well, quite frankly, I think the third place team is the third and fourth place team, the Packers have been proven longer than the Broncos. And the Bears have more talent than the Raiders at this point. All right. So number three is the NFC West. No, you have not seen the AFC South yet. All right. Rams, Cardinals, Seahawks, Niners. Completely agree. The only difference that separates this tier from the other two is they haven't had a team that's been a top tier for a year or so. All right. AFC North. This one's interesting. I could have put this ahead of the NFC West because you have three perennial playoff teams. All right. You have two of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, period. All right. And then you have the Steelers who just always make it, and we'll see what they do with Aaron Rodgers. I have no problem with the rankings at this point. The NFC East, Eagles, Commanders, Cowboys, Giants. Again, I really do put all these divisions on par. I believe the North is the best, but man, oh man, the NFL, its goal is parity. Wow, they're doing a good job, aren't they? You look at these, and every one, it's Eagles, Commanders, Cowboys. I can see all those teams making the playoffs, and then there's a bad team, right? You go to AFC North, Ravens, Bengals, Steelers. I can see all of them making the playoffs, and then they have a bad team, right? NFC West, oh, man, Rams, Seahawks, 49ers. I can see all those teams making the playoffs. Then they have a bad team that's good every once in a while on the card. Do you get what I'm saying? Number 6, NFC South, Panthers, Bucks, Falcons, Saints. And this is where you have a teardrop because Bucks, Falcons, easily see them making the playoffs. Panthers, Saints, not good teams. All right. Now, with that being said, I do believe the Panthers are going to surprise some people this year. Number 7 is the AFC East. Bills, Patriots, Dolphins, Jets. Bills, one of the best teams year in, year out in the league. I don't know if any of the other teams make the playoffs. Patriots have been bad. Jets have been bad. Dolphins have been mediocre bad, right? That's just the way that looks. So very interesting the way these things are kind of playing out. And then you have the AFC South. That is being worse or rated as the worst division in football. And the only thing I can think of for this is that, quite frankly, the Bills are better than the Texans, right? But the Jags, the Colts, and the Titans, bad football teams. I think things could change around for the Jags with Liam Cohen. I do. Or they could go absolutely terrible. But the Colts and the Titans just can't get it right. They can't get it right. And so why is this good news for the Texans? Well, the Texans have enjoyed two 12-5 seasons over the last 2 years, but some people are asking, is it fool's gold? Are they just playing in a bad division? Well, even if you sweep your division, you can only win 6 games. You got to win, and then you got to still win other games. It's good news for the Texans because for the 3rd year in a row, their path to the playoff seems pretty easy. And now they're becoming a team that, even though they're very young at a lot of positions, they're becoming battle-tested when it comes to the playoffs. They've been able to have multiple playoff games in the last 2 years. And even though they have a quarterback entering his 3rd season, he's a vet. He's a vet. But there's one thing that is keeping them from being one of the premier upper echelon teams in the league. And as you see by this article, it is their offensive line. When you look at PFF ratings, this is what they said about the Texans. There's very little to suggest that the group isn't deserving of the number 32 ranking ahead of the 2025 season. That's not great. Now, do I think this offensive line will be better than it was last year? I do. And I think this offensive line that is, quite frankly, better than it was probably 2 years ago, too. 2 years ago, it wasn't terrible. Last year, I don't know how much of it was simply the offensive coordinator, all right, not doing and putting in correct protections. Some of it's C.J. Stroud holding on to the ball for too long, right? But at least they've done some things. Now, PFF put offensive lines into tiers. That's how they did it. All right? That's how they did it. They put it into tiers. And what I want to show you on this is in this bottom tier, they are joined by the Cincinnati Bengals, Seattle Seahawks, New England Patriots, and New York Giants. All right? Now, of this tier, there are 5 teams with what are considered the 5 worst offensive lines. Do you know what? The Texans, the Bengals, and the Seahawks are pretty good football teams, aren't they? Like, they're pretty good football teams. And it has been proven that even when you have a subpar offensive line, you can have a quarterback that can go off. Joe Burrow proved it last year. C.J. Stroud can be that. He just has to learn how to get that quick release going and get it to his playmaking weapons that they have a plethora of. All right, so overall, basically, here's what we're looking at. And again, what we're looking at is, yes, an offensive line that struggles, but it's retooled. They could come together. They could gel together. And then, again, this is another article. This is Bleacher Report, AFC South, and this one is rated the worst division as well. All right, and a lot of these organizations don't seem to be able to right the ship anytime soon. This should be a long reign of the Houston Texans. There is time this year to get this offensive line right. That's what I'm saying. By the time they get to the playoffs, and then they can have a battle-tested playoff team that will help surround and cover the inefficiencies. It's a good defense. It's a great wide receiving core. It's a great running back core. It's a great quarterback. Everything else is there. Can the offensive line just get to middle of the pack to be able to allow it to shine? All right, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoy the content that we're putting out there. Hit that subscribe button if you do, and we'll see you on the next one.